Hey, thanks for tuning into That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. Today, we are joined by Ntsizwa Ka Mthimkhulu, and he shares with us something that's been a very key component and a vital value for us as a podcast here, enjoying the legacy of healthy marriages. How has that looked like for him in his family? He's going to unpack that for us. Secondly, him and his wife being prominent figures in the entertainment industry. How have they been able to live a life that's private? The value of being a husband, particularly for him, and how he protects his marriage against from the noise of social media and the industry that they're in. Such a key conversation to have. And lastly, something that we've always drummed in here. Being together on the same page, sharing the same worldview, sharing the same values with somebody that you're going to get married to. How vital is that? All of that on today's podcast. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. Here we are husbands who aren't where we want to be, but certainly are not where we used to be. We are imperfect, always failing forward, trying to know better so that we can do better. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. This is where husbands try to know better so that we can do better. Before we get into this episode, just two things to bring to your attention. Number one, again, we've been asking you for coffees. So there's evidence we're buying coffee. But coffee energizes us to keep making more of this content. So if you found any value, you found benefit from anything that we've been doing, please do help us by buying us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coffees. Doesn't matter how many coffees you want to buy us, but there's a link in the comment section where you could click there and buy coffee for us. There's other features that we have. Thank you buttons. We're figuring out all the stuff, but just click the thing, and thank us with $1 million if you want to thank us with $1 million. I'm just saying, right? That would be dope. Number two, again, if you planning an event and you're looking for a face, a voice for somebody who's going to not just only carry your vision, but the message for your event, and you're looking for an MC, do consider booking me at booking@blacknewborn.com. That's booking@blacknewborn.com. All right, the husband that's sitting across the table from me today. Guys, this is just standard procedure. I always say our guests don't need an intro, and they don't, right? Because somebody out there in the universe knows them. But it's none other than Solo, Ntsizwa Ka Mthimkhulu.
How you doing, sir?
Good evening, brother.
I'm fantastic, man.
Dope, man.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna be a dope one.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. And yeah, I just can't wait to get into it. Let me not preface it by saying too much.
Yeah. Well, actually, one thing I do need to correct is Solo Ntsizwa Ka Mthimkhulu is no husband.
Yes.
Zotile Langa is a husband.
Yeah.
There's no Solo Ntsizwa Ka Mthimkhulu at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's definitely like in the studio, on radio, in music videos. At home, those games don't exist, bro.
Zotile. Come on. It's dope, bro.
Yeah.
We're going to need to unpack that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Dope, man.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, we're compiling this resource. If you just joining us for the first time, we want to encourage a lot of husbands, especially dudes who walk alone, who don't have any brotherhood or community of other husbands who are encouraging them, or husbands who even have brotherhood but just feel discouraged. Sometimes we speak about these husbands who fail forward, who show up, who are faithful, take responsibility for their role as husbands. And sometimes you might think those dudes are fictional characters or just stats. But they're not. They're real. They exist. They're humans. And so we want to put their names in their stories, make this resource free for husbands out there. And so we always ask our guests for two husbands. Husbands who either inspired you to get married or who inspire you to stay married now. And why? Yeah.
That's easy, actually. So the first name would be Ntsigelelo Edgar Langa, my father.
Still, man.
Who honestly is the blueprint of how I'm navigating all of this.
Sure.
And I'm very fortunate to have him, to still have him, and to just be able to, have conversations with him.
Yeah.
Because even if it's something he didn't go through, his perspective is just always been key for me. I watched him love my mother unconditionally all my life, you know. So I had evidence of that very early, and in fact, it's almost the only way I know. You know what I mean? Second name would be Luanda Langa, my older brother.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm the last born in the family, you know. And I think very much the same thing, you know. Watched him be a great husband, watched him be a great father. And that's the advantage of being the last born, you know. You can watch everybody take the arrows in their backs and then just be like, ooh, not going to do that. Thank you.
Sure.
You know, and I think it's a very similar thing, you know, where our relationship is one where, you know, we can speak transparently with each other. We can be vulnerable with each other. And as a result, again, these are my go-to people.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, I think, you've kind of painted a picture of part of the reason why I started making this content. You know, I've actually the first dude I know, and whose story now, the bit that you've given, who has a legacy like that of a dad, older brother, who's married, and inspired them to be married or stay married. You know, a lot of the names that I hear are dudes outside of the husbands who put their names in, who are outside their families.
Sure.
So, yeah, to have a legacy like that, man.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah, man. And you know,
that's next level. Yeah.
And like you said, man, I actually know how rare it is.
Yeah.
Because every time I speak to people, that's highlighted almost
Sure.
immediately, right? And more than that, even, I know that it's something that my father was even able to experience himself with his father and his mother. I know it's something that my mother was able to experience with her mother and father, you know. I never got to meet my grandparents, but my grandfathers specifically.
Yeah.
And but I know of their legacy.
Sure.
You know, just in terms of being present fathers, praying fathers, you know, men of character, for sure.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's massive, man.
Yeah, it's a privilege. I'm well aware, man. I'm well aware.
You need to write a book.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's dope, man. Now, shout outs to those gents, bro. What about them specifically? Maybe both of them. You know, if there's maybe like key moments where you're like, that really, you spoke about them paying school fees so that you could learn.
For sure.
So one lesson that you could probably share from both of them.
I want to say from as early as, I want to say like primary school for me, right? My father was responsible for waking us up in the morning. My father would have essentially run my bath water, have that ready for me, and would essentially be a part of all morning prep.
Sure.
So I bring that up because, you know, later in life I realized that the example of partnership was something I saw very early, right?
Key.
So it wasn't these very specific gender roles, which meant, you know, my mom is running around like a headless chicken in the morning herself, and my dad's just like, I wake up and my body says it's time to wake up, you know?
Sure.
That wasn't at all what growing up was for me, you know? All the way up to matric even, where my father assisted me with like studying for Zulu premium prelim prep and things of that nature.
Sure.
You know, it was, you know, very involved.
It's dope, bro.
Very involved father. Flaws and all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Flaws and all, but always present.
Yeah.
I didn't have that void. There's no period in my life that I can remember where that man wasn't there. with my brother, with Luanda was my first hero. That was my first superhero. You know,
Is it just the two of you?
no. I also have an older sister.
Okay.
Who played a brotherly role when she felt she needed to as well. Funny enough. But yeah, Luanda was my first superhero.
Yeah.
He was the reason I started rapping even.
Sure.
You know, he introduced me to the genre. I remember learning the lyrics to Criss Cross's Jump.
Sheesh.
And I remember like his eyes like lighting up.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
Sure.
And I think I was addicted to that feeling the rest of my life. Like it was that's how you impress him. Got it. And
let's do this.
and that was all she wrote, you know.
That's dope, man.
So definitely like, you know, I want to say like my first cool hero, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Pops wasn't like my example for cool.
For cool, bro.
You know, but my brother was.
Yeah.
You know, and I watched him, you know, be a present husband. I watched him be a present father. And again, you know, if he thought it was cool, I guess it's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think I almost like, I probably indirectly just view it through that lens.
Sure.
You know? His cosign for the longest time has always been important to me. So, I just think his approach, and obviously inherent from my father as well, it must be. That's our example, you know?
Sure.
But they both didn't take the role lightly.
Sure.
And I don't take the role lightly,
Yeah.
you know? I came into marriage knowing that marriage is work.
Yeah.
But like happy for it to be work.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, not like a schlep, like, you know, the things I love are work.
100.
You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that makes sense to me, right? So if I see value in it, then I expect it to be work.
Still, man.
That's kind of my view of it.
Yeah, and that's fair, bro. Because people will see and have that kind of thinking in many other things.
Yeah.
But not marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Or relationships. So I'm like, that's actually the base from which we can do all of these other things.
Correct.
You know, and so why would you think that this is just supposed to be, you know, fun, roses,
Exactly.
everything? This whole idea of just having a spontaneous marriage where I'm like, did you think your wife is just going to wake up and think, wow, I think you're the most amazing thing in the world? Nje. You
Why
know?
also?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is it about you that makes you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where else is there evidence of that in your life?
That's
Bro? Where with just no effort, everyone's like, this is the greatest person I've ever seen.
Yeah. And this thing just works.
Yeah.
You know, you guys end up being married for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Just nje. Where I'm like, you didn't put in any effort. There wasn't any conscious decision to choose the person every single other day. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Wrestling with your own stuff. Because I'm like, yes, as much as I love my wife, there's days I don't like her, man. You know, and I have to choose in those moments to say, okay, like I'm angry, pissed at whatever it is that she's done or said. Yeah. But I need to actively choose, man. I need to actively choose to love her. I need to actively choose to fight whatever it is, you know, that's happening in my own heart. And that's work.
No, legit, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go as far as to say what happens more frequently for me is there's days where I don't like me.
Sure.
And what I've realized is how I then carry myself on days where I don't like me is actually the thing I need to police more. You know what I mean? Like, because on those days I'm not the greatest guy.
Sure.
And you know, and shout out to my wife because you know she'll then take the role of like, okay, cool, I see what this is. I know your patterns. Yeah. I'll carry. You know, and it's like. There's a way to also do that with grace. And, you know, again, I'm not at all trying to speak perfection, but I'm trying to actively be conscious of those moments, right? Because there's something very selfish about like disliking yourself, right? Because you almost want to be like, I F it.
Yeah.
So whatever I am in this moment is whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, but there are ways of not being horrible about it, right? And you know, and obviously my wife is she'll be the first person to experience it, you know? And more than that, I also realize that often I don't wear a veil for her, but I'll wear it for everyone else. So I'll leave the house and pretend to not be in that foul space, in that foul mood.
Yeah.
But then I'll go back home and be like, well,
I'm here.
Catch the worst of it.
Sure.
Good luck. Yeah. You know? And it's you know, so it's that for me. It's realizing that when I'm not liking myself and not at my best is probably when I need to pay attention to how I'm you know, how I'm presenting myself to her, you know, as opposed to going, oh, you know what this is.
Yeah.
Accept it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hundreds, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 years later for me.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Sorry, I know I'm breaking the fourth wall.
Nah.
You guys need to understand, this is crazy because I went to high school with Lily.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to understand, like hearing 10 years married is just like, what?
That's around the same time you dropped your first project. 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess that's the math.
Yeah.
That's literally the math. That's insane, Black.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks,
that's not
bro.
a small feat, man.
Yeah. No.
It really isn't.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, bro. And I mean, again, I think there's a lot of, outside of us, there's a lot of other people who've helped us, you know, carry this 10 years. Yeah, man. And I mean, there's a lot to say on that, definitely. The thing I wanted to pick up was learning not to take my wife for granted, 10 years later. I was reminded by what you just said now, you know, so just coming into the house and it's like, this is my place of solitude. This is my place to unwind, take off the cape, take off the mask, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you slowly realize, and for me it happened year 3, 4, and we were just focused on work as well, you know, so just working, building stuff, etc. And then you slowly take her for granted, you know, like, we got off stage together. So we went to some restaurant to eat. So we've been on a date. And
It's like,
no.
That counts, bro.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's that weird energy, where you're just like, where she brings it up and you're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Like, we've been together.
How?
And she's like,
and dichos?
Yeah.
So that pizza doesn't
count. Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, bro.
Yeah. It fed me.
Yeah.
But I need an actual date night for you to feed the other parts of me, my soul, my mind, you know what I mean? But it's easy. And I realize, man, I always have to catch myself. I'm taking her for granted. I'm just taking advantage because you're here. You know? And it's like, you don't get to the next 10 years if that's how I'm going to be, you know? So constantly having to catch myself, man, that is a hard thing, man.
Yeah, because routine is so easy to fall into, right?
Yeah.
And the thin line between routine and habit, I often say, is then you realize how hard it is to get out of that routine. Then you're like, oh, wait, it's habit now. It's, you know, now I can't call it routine because I'm not choosing this. This is just habitually, I'm just the guy who gets on the couch, grabs the PlayStation controller, goes, I'm allowed to zone out.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Let me zone out. And I think another parallel or something that we share is that, you know, we're in business with our wives, right? And bro. Hey yo,
that's a chat.
Hey yo, that's I don't know if that's a different podcast. I don't know what that is, but you know, because that was another thing where like which, where like the romance, where she had to stop me and go, no, guy. So you're telling me on date night, we're still talking shop.
Yep.
You know, and again, like, and I guess that's how I'm wired, where it's just like, we speak about the things that matter. And I guess right now what matters is, you know, there are employees who need to be paid. So what's the plan? You know? And I also, that was another place where I had to stop and go. Also, as much as we work together, you know, we're in business together whilst not having the same traits.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So when I think it's automatic for us to just talk, you know, finances, whilst forgetting that, like, but this is an overwhelming conversation for her. You know what I mean? Like, she needs to be prepped for this, ready for it, as opposed to this very financial mind that I have, which goes, it's an urgency, so let's talk about it right now. You know, she's like, oh, before bed. Then you have to stop and go, yeah, maybe not the right time. That's fair. That's fair. My bad, big dog.
Sheesh.
You know, but it's just things like that. I appreciate the opportunity that being in business with my wife affords us in terms of growth. But again, more learning curves, you know, more growing pains. And again,
more rubbing up against each other.
Absolutely. More friction.
Sure.
But that's what it is, man. It's the compartmentalizing, which is actually so important. Yeah.
1,000, bro. I think, a lot has been said so far, which leads me to the comment you made earlier on. You know, just even in how you brought the distinction between Uzotile and Usolo. It's one thing I appreciate about you, bro. Just standing on your convictions. You know, so, and it's probably going to be a long setup, but it's the same thing with getting getting props or showing appreciation to the fact that I've been married for 10 years. In one sense, I'm like, yo, I get it. I've been in it for 10 years. But it you know, in light of, I don't know how long your parents have been married now.
Sure. We celebrated, it's well over 50 years.
So 10 years, I'm a clown.
I mean, if you're a clown at 10, what am I at 5, bro?
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? There's levels to this.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
So in one sense, it's like, yo, man, 10, 50, like I just woke up. You know what I mean? Like this is me at the altar and my wife just walked down the aisle. That's what 10 years is. You know, like we haven't even left the wedding venue yet, compared to 50. But then you think, where's our culture right now? 10 years makes me look like a hero because of how undervalued marriage is.
Bro.
Commitment is undervalued. The role of the husband is, you know, like, get the ring, it's a cool accessory. But I'm actually not even going to like stand on the convictions and the vows that I made, you know, and just even being driven by the idea of commitment, not let alone the commitment that you have. But like, it's hard for dudes to even, you know, have a backbone and stand behind just the idea of commitment.
Because where'd they learn it from?
Bro?
Right? So to just assume it's going to be this automatic thing.
Yep.
Where's it from?
Hundreds.
What's the background?
Hundreds.
You know? And for both parties, right?
1,000, bro.
What's the background?
Yeah.
But you're right, man, in that today, I guess I almost said outside looking in. I guess it's from the inside looking out.
No, yeah.
If that makes sense. From the inside looking out, looks like the streets is cold.
Hard, bro.
Yo, I can't be outside.
Hard.
Yo.
I do
you know
not
what I mean?
miss.
No, dude. Like if, and I get it, you know, social media isn't everything, you know, it's definitely like you're looking through a very specific lens. You know, people share more bad than they do good, you know, but it's a lot of bad, man. It's a lot of like scary testimonies that you're seeing, right? Which is why when you say 10 years, I go, yo, man, that is, and it is a real thing. It's a big thing.
It is, bro, yeah.
But I remember even there was a point where I was even questioning the math of it all. And what I mean by that is, what is it about you know, and again, if I'm just considering my peers, right? What is it about myself and my friends getting married around the age of 30? You know what I mean? All of us. So we all found our soulmates.
Yeah.
Draw. You know what I mean? Sure. Mathematically, man, I don't know. You know, and again, and I'm not even leaving myself out of that. Yeah. I got married at what? It was 2019. So what's that? 31.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm a statistic as well. I'm proving it, right? Yeah. But then the scary thing is, I guess I look at my brother's peers, and my brother's 10 years my senior. Okay. My sister's 7 years older than me. And it's like, why is it that on average the 30-year-olds are getting married and the 40-year-olds are getting divorced?
Bro.
Like, how do we have it down to like an average?
Bro.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because then I think we do have to ask ourselves what this foundation is built on. You know?
Yeah.
What's our reasoning? You know, why are we getting married?
Yeah.
And I do think we really do need to ask the question, right? Because if it's a societal decision, I think that's the wrong decision.
1,000.
You know? And I'm not saying it should all look the same, right? I'm not saying it needs to be this, no, be together X amount of years first, and then this phase, and then this phase. Yeah. I'm just saying, you know, have the two parties answered that?
Yeah.
Just the two parties. Have you interrogated everything that comes with it? Because I'll say this, man. You know, before we got married, we did marriage counseling. Yeah.
You know what marriage counseling is good for, bro? I always say after, I don't know how many weeks you did. Like normally it's like 8. Some people go for 13. After that duration, marriage prep is good to say, do we still want to do this thing now?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, look.
It's not going to prep you for the wars that you're going to... Even the joys.
Yeah.
Because part of what marriage is, and sorry to cut you off, but it's learning on the job.
Legit.
You know what I mean? And I always say post-wedding counseling. So now that we're in the thing.
You see.
And I've stepped on your toe. Cool, let's go meet with that dude again. And you're like, okay, it hurts. Here's the pain level.
For sure.
So what do we do now? How do we make sure that we develop a fighting style, a communication style? Yeah. Now that we're in the thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry.
So, but again, and you're right, because now we're speaking to intentionality, right?
100.
There's this commitment.
Yeah.
There are these documents that prove we both agreed to this.
Uncle Cyril knows you.
Yeah, legit, right? But then also, what does it take to be like Mr. and Mrs. Langa Sr., who are 50 years plus, right? Because one thing for sure is it's not automatic.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is, like I said, I think that's one key thing that does need to be interrogated, because I am very happy for all my friends who are married, right? As it stands in this time, it all looks pretty good. You know, but the long run is a long run, you know? Yeah. And that applies to me too, right? And I'm just saying, you know, so for the things I care about, like I said earlier, the things I care about, I understand that work needs to go into those things, right? Yeah. So, you know, I guess always being ready for work, you know, is almost the mentality that I have, right? Because again, you know this, I married her whole family. All of them. And same thing for her, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not this, sure, there's me and you.
Yeah.
But then there's literally everybody else. Then there's, you know, then there's influence.
Yep.
You know, then there's, you know, what do boundaries look like? What does transparent communication about the other's family look like?
Yep.
You know? You know, it's all those things,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
When I have to say to you that, look, I know you spent your whole life, you know, with these people, and I'm only 10 years plus,
Yeah.
but you know, it's that, right? It's also, you know, I don't only have to show up
Yep.
for my wife, right?
Yep.
I have to show up for the things that matter to her and her family. I'm not allowed to just be like, sounds like that's a one-man job. Sounds like you can handle that, that family gathering or whatever. You know, and that's what I mean. Like, and all that stuff is, I think another place where we were blessed is that, you know, technically the families were pretty much integrated very early, before the wedding itself, before the marriage itself. But marriage is different,
Bro.
right?
Bro.
It's a different thing now.
Call it an invisible wall, an invisible line,
Yeah.
an invisible cloak of responsibility that you get.
Yeah.
But it's there.
But it exists.
It's there, bro.
Right? And again, that's why I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
you know, we got married on the 11th of May.
Yeah. 5 years
Legit.
now, bro.
Yeah.
Shout outs, bro.
Legit, there were boundaries that didn't exist on the 10th.
Yeah.
That existed on the 12th.
1,000.
You know what
1,000,
I
bro.
mean? And
1,000.
And you almost I think some of those were recognized and experienced in the process of getting married.
Sure.
Because that is when people lose their minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when you're just like,
Yeah.
what is family? You know? And legit, man, there were definitely some like boundaries that had to be put up straight after.
Sure.
You know? Because that's another thing that I know I'm bouncing around here, bro.
No,
but
that's good, bro.
Shout out to my bro, Sugar Smacks.
Yeah.
You know, another great husband, great father. But I remember on my wedding day, bro, he said to me, one thing you learn about your wedding is that might be one of the first times you realize as a unit that you guys can do almost anything.
Dope.
Because making that happen is hey man.
Bro.
You know what I mean?
Bro.
Yo, it's no child's play. So I remember the joy that came with it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also remembering all the lessons. All of them, you know, and being like, okay, this is definitely a different ball game, you know. So yeah, man, that's the thing about marriage, man. It just comes with so many lessons, you know, and it's nonstop.
Yeah, it's constantly, bro.
Yeah, it's constantly.
Yeah. You don't know, because you were 36 this year.
Yeah.
You don't know the 38-year-old version of yourself.
No.
She doesn't know that 38-year-old version as well. So you're both discovering that guy.
Yeah.
In marriage.
Legit.
You know what I mean? Because I sometimes hear people say, "Oh, man, I need to, know this person," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's get married, man. There's no amount of getting to know them, and you're gonna get to a threshold and say, yeah, now I'm really convinced," because I'm like, again, the 10th, you know one version of Dinero.
Absolutely.
The 11th, she's another person.
Sure.
Growing, evolving.
Correct.
So then do I stop the wedding and say, I didn't know this part about her, so let's get married on the top, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, so,
yeah, it's I agree with that, man.
I get it in one sense that there is a level at which you don't want to wake up with a psycho who's going to kill you, right? And that's fair. But then I'm like, so what is it that you want to know for sure that's going to help you cross over this line that you're not going to, get to 5 years again in marriage and you're like, hey, do this now, right? Because again, we're growing. We changing individually, but also the rubbing up against each other in marriage is making us completely different people that we would have been if we were otherwise single.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I'm like, the beauty is learning together, man. The beauty is also choosing over and over, you know. So I'm like, tell my wife, I'm like, yo, I'll choose the 40-year-old version of you, the 50-year-old version of you. I still need to not just rely on a feeling necessarily, but like, you know, actively commit to choose you.
Absolutely.
Whatever that version is, you know. But
Yeah.
I stood before God, family, public to say I'm willing to do this discovery thing with you, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I was going to your distinction between solo and Zotile.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry to interrupt your viewing. We'll shortly get back to that episode. But if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the notification bell, please do that so that you're always updated on the episodes that we drop here. We want to change the nation. One husband at a time, one marriage at a time, one family at a time. So if you are inspired, encouraged by all the content that we produce on this podcast, stick around because next week there's another husband who's going to inspire us to do exactly that.
I don't know how many times I ask myself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough for my family? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And what's worse is I had a father, amazing of a man, and he passed away too soon.
Sure.
When I turned 21, that man passed away, right? Now, I'm just navigating this life
Tough, man.
alone.
Yeah. I was going to your distinction between solo and Zotile.
Yeah.
You have strong convictions for that. And I mean, you kind of spoke about some of them now.
Yeah.
Why? So what's that? Why do you distinguish? And what are those, what's undergirding all of that, man?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is growth, man, because, you know, solo used to be allowed in the household once upon a time, right? And it's, yeah, man, I guess it's just that thing of like wanting to be present at home as much as I can.
Sure.
You know, as a musician, for most of my adult life, for example, I would always have a recording studio in the house.
Yeah.
I no longer have that.
Sure.
I mean, maybe since about I want to say 2020. Yeah, so like just after as the pandemic was kind of dying down.
That was probably going to be the best time to have a studio, bro.
Oh yeah, and no, but during that time I had it.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
But again, it's just this idea that like, you know, I care for my craft.
Yeah.
I also spent most of my life practicing a selfishness when it came to my craft. So having that in the home and also having a wife who believes in me and understands, she would allow it. So it was more a decision I had to make.
Sure.
To be like, yo, to be my best version here. And to also just be very sober-minded about what this is.
Yeah.
I can't let the weirdness of entertainment and the entertainment industry bleed into this.
Sheesh, bro.
I just can't, man.
Sheesh. Yeah.
You know, it's a weird space.
No, totally, bro.
You know what I mean? You know.
Totally,
You know.
bro.
It's and I don't want to blur the lines.
Yeah.
You know, I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be the guy who's at home or again at a family function and is still solo.
Sure.
It's weird.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if you stop and think about it, it's weird. I know it's also inherent and automatic. You know what I mean? Like if Dineo and I go to Guatemala, you know, where she's from, it makes sense that like, you know, the neighbors or the kids outside will recognize and whatever, right?
Sure.
Which is fine. I get that. But my point is when we make it through that gate, there's absolutely none of that. Oof. You know what I mean? Because you can't. What energy are you bringing into a family dynamic? Right? It's the way I look at it is we're bringing in a lot of uncertainty because that's what it is as an industry.
Yeah.
A lot of uncertainty, right? And so that for me was the first part of it all, right? The second thing is, again, because I've practiced this art form and, you know, the mechanics of it as a career for so long, I've practiced that more than I've practiced being a husband.
Sure.
This needs more time.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Logic, bro.
Simple math, bro.
Yeah.
This requires more time, and I can't afford to keep stealing from that little time I get to do that and practice that by allowing this to keep bleeding into it. So there's a very real distinction between those two things, right?
Yeah.
My wife doesn't experience solo.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
You know? And it goes both ways. You know, it's the thing about, you know, the reality of being in entertainment is that just by virtue of having a cell phone, I bring it home with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which means we can be on the couch. I can get a notification of someone talking sideways about one of us.
Yeah.
And that could be the end of our night.
Sure.
It could spoil the mood immediately. It's happened.
Sure.
It's happened multiple times. So if I already have that, you know, as something that I already need to fight against, how much more than if I'm bringing in all these other traces
Intentionally.
choosing it. You know what I mean? This one, I can't say I choose that, right?
Yeah.
But then I definitely have to do my best to free up the opportunity for us to be husband and wife at home, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we don't even get as much time as we'd like to do that by virtue of work. Like, Dinel's in Cape Town now shooting.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's like, you know, being very selfish about our us time, you know, is the adjustment that needed to be made. And that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just prioritizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a bigger vision that's outside of yourselves. Because, I mean, obviously in the public eye.
Yeah.
So people see what you do in terms of work, but they're also looking at you guys as a couple. And it's easy to just play into the theatrics. It's easy to play into, you know, whatever other narrative people might have conjured up about you guys. But what you're saying, man, for me, at least what I'm hearing, and I think connecting it back to your dad, your brother, the legacy they've left, you know, I could be wrong, and I'm projecting, but you care more, you know, for the stability of your own marriage, and whether knowingly or unconsciously, you care for the well-being of just the family.
Yeah.
And just separating those two things, bro. And you guys being married for 50, 60 years, you know, having your marriage outlive your careers, I think is probably going to speak more volumes for your heart towards us as people who are, you know, lookers and viewers from the outside.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, yo, man, like, listen, and again, not undermining anything that we do, but you could drop the hottest thing now in terms of your music.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, okay, your music there's 3 of us now in the room, might touch all 3 of us, right? And 2 of us in this room might be like super fans.
Yeah.
And maybe the one person is like, I take solo, love his music. But I think the picture you have of you and your wife is probably going to touch more people.
Yeah.
Just because we made from companion, we want to have family, we want to have people who love us. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think seeing more pictures of people who are selfish with their marriages like that, and intentionally so, and trying to protect their marriage just for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I said maybe consciously or unconsciously, you protecting other marriages, man. You protecting other families.
Yeah.
You protecting other husbands, right? I'm thinking of a dude who's watching this now and hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, man, beyond anything else that we could do, but living out what it is that we believe about being husbands, being family men.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that thing is gonna impact people, man, in ways that I think are also going to outlive us in ways that we might not even see in our lifetime, you know? So I'm like, just even, again, that's why I connected it with your story, with your family. I'm like, bro, that thing, what it's doing for me, just sitting across the table from you, it's madness, man. It's another thing, bro.
Yeah, look, I definitely appreciate that. Again, because nothing we're speaking about is automatic, right?
Yes.
So that's why, I can definitely say I appreciate it, because it's effort,
Yeah.
I think another very interesting thing, especially with this idea of like, the separation between work and entertainment, and obviously home being a very real thing.
Yeah.
Is, again, understanding one is entertainment and one is not.
Sure.
Right? One is not entertainment, right? So controlling the narrative there is also very important.
Yeah.
And another thing is, man, so I say this all the time. I think my wife is the most talented person I've ever met.
Sure.
Right? I'm all right, man. She's the most talented person I've ever met. And the thing about that is it speaks to, again, her not even fully tapped into and realized potential.
Sure.
Her ambitions.
Sure.
And her goals, right? Which I am definitely, to some extent, a custodian of at some level, right? Sitting in the position of husband means I do sit in a place where I could break that.
Yep.
You understand how much power that is?
Yep.
Enough power to dim a light.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So with that said, I've also had to understand my bigger role in, besides being a husband to her.
Sure.
Because I know who I married.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
You guys think you know her potential. I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or at least I know as much as I know. It's probably even more than I can imagine.
Sure.
But listen, being a husband in entertainment doesn't have as much consequence as being a wife in entertainment. We don't walk the same path in entertainment. Me and my wife, we just don't. There's not as much red tape for me. There's not as much consequence for me.
Sure.
There just isn't.
Sure.
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 All the way down to our decision of even having kids. Right?
1,000, bro.
Because, mind you, we both love kids. We really do, right? You should see like our Instagram shared videos and stuff. It's literally just puppies and kids. But the thing about it is, again, sitting in the position I sit in, it's knowing for a fact that if we have a child tomorrow, Solo's good.
You good, bro?
There's very little that changes in Solo's life. Dineo Langa, though, is a very different story.
Yep.
And like I said, I sit in a place where at some level I'm a custodian of even her dreams.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than just, let's have a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I know what her ambitions are.
Yep.
And for the part that falls under my responsibility, I'm going to protect that, bro.
Yeah.
Because she does it for me. So there's layers to this thing.
Yeah, bro.
There's layers, and there's a lot of discomfort in it as well,
Hundreds, man.
I think just traditionally, wives are expected to hold on, chill on that dream a little.
Yeah.
Let me go do my thing.
Sure.
That's not going to be our reality at all.
Yeah. Sure.
There's the goals that we have as a unit.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's our individual goals.
Yeah.
And what we really want to see for ourselves, but what we want to see for each other, man. Where I can protect her dreams, I will. Even if that means certain things don't play out like other marriages.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Because again, we're not other
Other
marriages,
people, yeah.
you know? And yeah, it's just, again, man, it's being conscious of all these things all at the same time, you know?
How are you able to do that? So the level of awareness that you have, self-awareness, but also very aware of your marriage,
Yeah.
therefore aware of your wife. So, you know, I don't want to presume,
Yeah.
again, that it's just from what you've seen at home. I think that plays a very big role.
Sure.
But you know, again, we all
Yeah.
have to make decisions ourselves, even after we've left the
Absolutely.
nest. And it's like, you could have just been a clown of a husband.
Yeah.
Even with the legacy you have,
Yeah,
you know
bro,
what I mean?
it's not, yeah, it's not like hereditary. It's not like, it's just passed on, you know?
Just touch my dad's hand and
Yeah,
it's transferred.
and then it's through. No, bro, it's because we take stock,
Yeah.
right? Shame, my poor wife. She married I communicate, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
I know women, often speak to, wanting someone who communicates. Yeah, there's also over communication, I learned, and apparently I'm the latter. But yeah, I think it's that, man. It's just taking stock, man.
Sure.
You know how often, that's actually crazy. How often we ask each other, are you good?
Yeah,
Are we good?
Good. Yeah.
We ask that a lot.
Sure.
Now that I think about it, you know, and I guess we also afford ourselves the chance to be truthful in answering that.
Yeah.
It's not just how are you? I'm fine. It's yo,
Sure.
are we good? Right. And sometimes that happens just by virtue of picking up vibe, like that one word answer.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Sure.
And sometimes it's asked even when the vibes are very happy.
Sure. Still,
You know,
bro.
because it's
Yep.
yeah, because that question applies all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think it's just in taking stock, man. It's in taking stock. It's like I said, I will talk shop if I'm afforded the opportunity. I'll just talk work nonstop.
Sure.
But I guess even in those moments when we're talking work and even speaking about like our disappointments in work and all of that, and having to speak life and reassurance into each other, it's all of that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff counts, right? Because that's the thing about like expressing disappointment. You're also expressing the fact that you still care, right? So very often I'll express disappointment, and so will she.
Yeah.
But that's how I know that I still need to make sure that I speak life into this thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Still, bro.
and also not be and don't hinder it. You
Yep.
know, yeah.
It's great, man. I think before we started this, we spoke briefly, just off camera, about worldviews and being aligned.
Yeah.
With people that you and the person that you're married to. And I've said this over and over in this podcast and very vocal about it. Just the importance of sharing the same worldview.
Yeah.
And how it's not a small thing. It's I think it's a very, very, very big thing, very fundamental thing. And I think in building the foundation of a marriage, I think it occupies a very large percentage of what makes your foundation. So what we believe about what marriage is, the purpose of marriage, what we believe about what's the purpose of humanity, where are we going as people, what we believe about God, what we believe about spirituality, what we believe about morality.
Sure.
So I'm like, yeah, man, I think that thing is important, bro. And even having those conversations before you get married, I was probably like 8 years ago, sometime there was a couple that we heard of. So my mentor was getting this couple married. So he did marriage prep with them. They had been together for, I think, 8 years, and they decided to get married. That thing didn't last a month.
Wow.
And they basically got married and then realized, no way, like, so this is what you believe about the stars. Okay. So you believe this about money. Okay. You believe that about kids?
Yeah.
But the 8 years we're just cruising.
What were y'all talking about?
Everything else,
Literally
It's
everything else.
What holiday are we going to? It's cool, and we talk about what marriage is gonna look like, but not
Yeah.
what's gonna make the marriage work. So we talk about how cool it is
Yeah.
that we're gonna walk down
When
the
you
aisle.
my wife, shouty.
Yeah. You
I'm
know
gonna
what I mean?
take you to. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
But we're just
That's
not
cool too.
talking about the. It seems basic, and in some sense, from the word itself, it is basic. It's fundamental. It's elementary stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not in terms of value. I don't think it's basic. I
Yeah.
think it's extraordinary. You know what I mean? It holds an
Yeah.
immense sense of weight. It's the gravity, man. To your marriage.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah. I mean, obviously, again, having observed your marriage from a distance, I'm
Yeah.
like, I have thoughts, and I've heard some of the stuff you've expressed, and but yeah,
Yeah.
where you at? How's that working?
So it's very interesting for me because my take is maybe today is not like as weird a take as it was once upon a time.
Yeah.
But so I believe in like cohabitation before marriage.
Sure.
I just do, guys. I believe it because that's what we did.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not objective.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. It's my thing about it is, Dina and I lived together
Yeah.
for a while before
Sure.
we got married.
Sure. Because you've been
But
together for what? 12 now.
Yeah, since I'm gonna say since 2012.
Okay.
You do the math because if
Okay.
I get it wrong, if I say I don't want no
So
smoke.
it is.
Man.
I think it is 12. Yeah, 12 years. We're in 2014.
Is that math right?
Like, and you probably
Cool.
have a better math brain than me, bro.
Probably, man. I just I fear getting it wrong.
So 12 and 24. 12 years.
12, surely.
Surely.
Surely it's
Yeah,
12.
Yeah, come on.
We did the math, love. Don't even,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Married for 5, I think, is the one that holds weight.
Yeah.
But like, we lived together for years before
Yeah.
getting married.
Yeah.
And the thing about cohabitation is you're going to have to have these conversations about like principles of like money and principles of, you know what I mean? Just by virtue of,
Sure.
you're going to stumble on these things on a day to day.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the thing that afforded us understanding where we're aligned and where we weren't.
Sure.
And there were places where we weren't,
Sure.
where we then had to hear each other out, be like, no, you're crazy, no, you're crazy, and then give it time and let that pass, and then have the conversation again. And you know what I mean? It's being able, we afforded ourselves the opportunity to revisit, grow, and be like, oh, by the way, my stance on that, not a real thing anymore, turns out.
Sure.
And again, that's what that afforded us. Now, again, I get it. As black folk, that's not the way to do it. And
How did your families take it?
Ah, man, my family was cool.
Yeah.
Actually, so was her family.
Wow.
That's why we were able to do it.
Yeah.
That's why we were able to do it.
Were the consultations with the families, or it was like, oh, by the
Not
way,
really. We were like, yo, by the
Like
way,
our-
man.
we have the same address now.
We're up the road, nah?
Yeah.
Cool. And and that's what it was. But I think what we were very clear on, and I think what our families could see was how intentional we clearly were about everything. So it didn't feel like, we weren't just going with the flow, and it wasn't that. Like we considered everything. But my point is, we were able to learn each other in those years.
Dope.
I remember. So when did I propose to Dino? That was it 2017? Might have been 2017. No, so beginning of 2018, January of 2018.
Okay.
One of my favorite stories because we were in Mozambique. I had this whole thing planned, etc. And so I finally proposed, and and it's like, oh great, man, we're engaged now, and we tell our friends, and everybody is happy. And I remember flying out of Mozambique heading home, and what happened? There was a storm, which meant we actually had to turn around and fly back to Mozambique. Whew. So we fly back, and now we're at the airport in Mozambique, and we're just waiting. And we're in the lounge and we're waiting, and I'm on. So we jump on the Wi-Fi and we're just like passing time. We're on Twitter, and I realized that my wife put out a post, saying, however many years our anniversary was 7th of January.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Happy anniversary, my love. It's been whatever, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it was."
Yeah.
And so she put that tweet out before we flew on our way to SA.
Yeah.
Then we turn around and we land and we just get back online. Yeah. When I get on Twitter, bro, everyone was like, "Oh, so Solo's just wasting her time. How are you not engaged after this many years? This is why you women must."
Engaged.
We're engaged, bro. We're actually engaged. And they're just like, "This is why you mustn't date these rappers and these." And I was like, oh, man.
There it is.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's Buck.
I forget this is where we're flying back to, isn't it? That's cool.
That's Buck, bro.
But dude, it was so insane to me, right? And again, it was one of those moments where I watched my wife, who's, again, my then fiance, who was, this is supposed to be like a happy
time, bro.
And she is just pissed off, understandably, right? And it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think, again, it just speaks to, again, these principles and stuff, because, according to society, clearly, I was late, I guess we shouldn't have been interrogating things for as long as we took to, to learn each other and interrogate things like what are our principles and our standings on certain things, So I guess I say that to say, even that isn't, it's very much just about the two of you.
Sure.
However long that takes is how long it takes. And again, it's like what I was saying earlier, where I was just like, is it coincidence that like the men I know get married at 30?
Yeah.
Did we all do that processing all at the same time, whilst finding our soulmates all at the same time? Mathematically, man, I don't know. I'm still questioning it. And again, this is no shade to anyone. I got married at 31. Again, I am myself a statistic, so I am not knocking anybody. I'm just saying, I think it does speak to, what accelerates these things at a specific time. What accelerates these conversations, and I'm talking even from like a family front, when it's not just the two of you. Because I agree with you, man. You if you're not aligned before, what's the plan then? And all whilst acknowledging that, like, and these principles can change. Even though they're principles, because we learn as we go.
Yeah, that's great, bro.
So my point is, what? So you'll hold on to old principles by virtue of, well, that's a principle. And this is how I felt in 2012. Therefore, no, So yes, having that kind of foundation where you guys clearly just have at least this as an understanding.
Sure.
And I guess consistency is its own proof, right? Where like year after year, clearly Zotile stands by this.
It's great, bro.
Clearly Dineo stands by this, because again, we can all say the right things.
Living it out, man.
Living it out is a very different thing.
It's a whole other story, bro.
And again, man, it's not even about the answers you give when you're asked these questions.
Sure.
Versus what your day-to-day is,
Looks like, man,
what actually. So, for example, another idea, right? So the concept of loyalty and fidelity, right? So I don't struggle with being loyal to my wife. I don't. It's just not one of the things that are an issue for me.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I know men who clearly, have issues with it, right?
Yep.
And aren't even like proud of it. It's not even like that. It's just a weakness that exists, right?
Yeah.
It's not a weakness I have.
Sure.
I have other weaknesses. That just doesn't happen to be one of them. So it might be. So I say that to say, other principles for me are easier than others because naturally it's just not. It's not something that I struggle with. With that said, I don't put myself in opportunities to test these things either. You know what I mean? And that speaks to the principle of it.
Hundreds, bro.
Whether or not it's a weakness that's a different conversation. In principle, I'm just not putting myself in weird situations.
Come on, bro.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not out here testing myself. Because, again, this thing matters to me, right? So in most cases, and again, man, the industry we're in, the position we're in means you do get like very weird, DMs and communications. And that's both of us.
Yeah.
But just by virtue of its principle, I don't find it cute, man.
No.
To me, it reads as someone suggesting a threat to something I care a great deal for.
Come on, bro.
You know what I mean? So I think that becomes the difference in like a principle stance. Versus just versus just a take, maybe. In that, man, I protect this thing.
Yeah.
Don't bring energy that is a potential threat to my marriage, man. I don't mess with that.
It's an accurate
energy.
description.
Do you know what I mean?
Threat, bro. Yeah?
It is a threat if you think about it.
Sure.
It's because again, if you definitely know that Solo's a married man, then any weird DMs is actually you stating that you are.
Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah,
you're doing dark work.
Yeah, why are you threatening my marriage? I don't like that energy.
That's evil work, man.
Don't threaten my marriage, bro. But again, it's just I think for me the difference in like principle and how I practice that then,
Yeah, bro. I was just reminded now when you were speaking about struggles with infidelity. I think I have a gift. I call it divine kwababa.
That's funny.
I have divine kwababa. I've never, in my 36 years of living, I've never approached a woman in my life. So at a party, seeing a girl, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Never. The concept of walking across the street when a girl is walking and you just, throw yourself in that situation. Yeah, that's danger for me, man. And that's why I'm like, it's a divine kwababa that I've been given. Like anyone I've dated, we've met through people.
Got you.
So somebody and we go to a party. You introduce me, I'm in, right? I like talking. I don't like working to prove myself to somebody, especially if it's a stranger. You're on the streets, and then I'm like, dang, I have to start here and prove that like whatever it is that you were going to do is not as important anymore, and I'm the most important thing that you have to wait for now, right? And talk to, etc. So I was like, dang, like I just don't want to put myself in that, and it's probably that part of me of being a hunter that's that's killed. That wasn't there. Maybe
Yeah.
it didn't exist. I don't know. But that thing has protected me, man. It's protected me in marriage as well, you know. So I'm like, yeah, like, sure. My wife last night, we were talking about this. She was like, listen, I know that you believe and think that I'm the hottest thing. Doesn't mean that you don't see other people, right? Because I'm like, there's beautiful people in the world. We see them. But I'm like, man, loving my wife, knowing that she's, you know, the most beautiful, most hottest woman in my life. And then thirdly, my divine Gwababa. Like just all of that.
That combination is just...
Yes, that's like some Super Saiyan stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's like just has protected me, man, from... And again, I'm a man. It's not that I don't have, you know, other struggles like you said. And just the propensity to mess up in that regard is, I know is definitely there. But there's just been, you know, this, I think all of those things that have helped.
For sure.
Easy, man.
Yeah.
Bro, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
This has been great.
This was dope, man.
Yeah. You're definitely coming back for part 2.
I look forward to it, bro.
There's a lot we should be unpacking, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, man, you know, all blessings to you as you keep living, and not just for yourself, you know, but for the rest of us. And again, I think that's probably the level at which you become an advocate or an activist, that we like, man, we here, right?
Yeah.
But, and I know we don't normally put ourselves in those positions, but all that to say, we're looking, we're inspired, we're encouraged, you know, and man, just keep at it, bro. We want to hear 50 years from now, you know, that you're still holding the fort and still loving your wife even more at that point, you know.
Look, it's the intention, right? So if anything, just focus on the fact that I stand here as a man with intent. That's the goal.
Hundreds, bro.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Ken.
And we want to thank your wife for lending us you.
Real.
My English there. Because we borrowed you and she lent.
Semantics, bro. Let it go.
So thank you. Yeah, we know you don't come alone, man. So thank you to her. It's your guys' story, you know, that you trusting us with. So appreciate it, brother. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Dope. With that said, this has been us here at the That Husband podcast. Hope you encouraged. Hope you found much value from this. Hope you've been challenged to think deeper about, you know, your stance in your relationship. Are you just getting into marriage just because it's cool or it's fun? Or are you thinking seriously about this thing and what it's going to mean long term? You know, or whatever relationship you're in. You know, a lot of us are in different stages in our relationship journey. And so I hope that you really found a lot of gems from this, a lot of value from it, man. We will see you on the flip side. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and hit the notification button as well, so that you're updated on every single episode that we drop. Wednesday, 11:30. That's where you'll catch us. All right? Peace. Sure.
So you don't even have someone that looks like your father that can speak into your life. Bro. That can say, my guy, you are doing well. Because sometimes all we need to know...
That's all you need to hear, bro. Those words are powerful.
They're not going to make you rich. But hey, look, they will just give you the strength to go on. All you need to know is, and look, our women try. They try by all means, baby, you are the best, whatever. Appreciate that. But how I wish... You know, there can be a deep voice, a father. Someone that smells like a father that can say, my son, you are doing well.